So let's start with outputting this as an actual list. If we have a look, we get 3 elements in this persons array on our state. Now, again, in other frameworks, which you might know, if you don't, that's no problem. It's different here anyways. In other frameworks, like in Vue, you would have a directive v4 or in Angular ng4. Now, in React, you don't have that because guess what? Everything is JavaScript here, as you learned. Just as with conditional content, which we handle here with normal JavaScript, we also handle lists with the default tools JavaScript gives us for working with lists. How would this look like in our case here where we have the persons? Well, we would again use single curly braces to render something dynamic within our JSX code. And then we want to render our persons array in the state. So this state persons, simply referring to this array. Now this alone won't do the trick. That's an array of JavaScript object, not something we can convert to HTML, not something React would understand here. So we need to convert this array of JavaScript, which is not valid JSX, to valid JSX. And JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, offers us a function to convert arrays. It's the map function. Map simply maps every element in a given array, such as our persons array here, into something else. It does this by executing a method on every element in a given array, so on this array in this case. This method or this function is passed to the map method here. It takes the element of the array as input, so a single person. The name of this argument is totally up to you. I'm just writing an anonymous function here, and I'm actually writing an arrow function here. So this is a ES6 arrow function, which I pass to the map method. Might look strange, but is actually vanilla JavaScript. ES6, but JavaScript. Not JSX, nothing like that. That's why it's inside of single curly braces. So this function here, which I pass as an anonymous function to the map method, is executed on every element in the persons array. And JavaScript automatically gives us each element as an input to that function, which we execute on every element. So in this case, it's our person. Again, you can name this whatever you want, but since it is an array of persons, person probably makes sense. And now here you have to return something. You should return what you want to map this item into. So we have an array of JavaScript objects and persons. Here, 1 object, 2 objects, 3 objects. And we want to convert this into something else. The map method, which we're using here, conveniently simply returns a new array. And since I just print this new array like this inside JSX, React will basically just try to take the individual elements of this new array and render them to the DOM if they are valid JSX. So our goal simply is to return JSX here, so that every element in the persons array gets mapped into a JSX representative of it. So here I want to map it into a person component in the end, because each person JavaScript object can be represented as a person component in my project here. And then we simply assign name again. And here we can use the person we get as an input, so the individual element for which this function is executed. And there we got the name property. And the same, of course, for the age, where I can now access person age. I'll split this over multiple lines to make it easier to read. And that actually is it. With that, I can get rid of all the other persons, and I will remove them for now simply. And now what this will lead to is that it will still print a list of persons. Clicking on them and changing the name won't work for now because I removed the handlers. We'll add them soon. And it simply does this by mapping this JavaScript array into still a JavaScript array, but an array with JSX objects inside of it, which React will automatically pull out and render to the screen. Let's save the file and see the result. If I toggle my persons, here we see all the persons. we also get a new warning, besides the one we already know, that we should assign a key property. Now, I will definitely come back to that. That's super important. We can already see, though, that basically it is working. It is rendering this list of elements by mapping our array into something else. Now, let's dive deeper into this list thing and learn what's up with that key and how we may react to changes to our array and how we may change it by using our event listeners.